Good afternoon, everyone. Appreciate you being here. Sorry I'm late. We're here to have a special meeting to discuss the decision of the radio committee on the tower project. So if we would, we'll say the pledge and then we'll get started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sherry, if you and Terry want to come forward. I don't have an agenda. I'm assuming this is it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You already got one.
Do you have an extra?
Yeah. Okay. My name's Jerry Burnworth, President of Pyramid Consulting. What you have in front of you, the 2 pages, which I'll make as brief as possible, is a summation of hundreds of hours that the review and scoring committee has done over the past 6 weeks, 2 months.
Well, we've been working on it since last
Yeah,
summer.
yeah, so it's been a while. And what we did is we did a RFP, request for proposals, through the Indiana Code 5229. And all the criteria was put into the RFP document. I think the RFP document was 200 or 300 pages long, and all the vendors. We got 3 submissions, and on your second page, you'll see the scoring of the 3. And we had 5 categories that were scored: compliance to the RFP, qualifications of the company, functionality of the system itself, which tends to have the highest scoring. It was worth 35%. Services, and then cost. Okay, cost was actually worth only about 30% of the overall score. I think it was 25% on this project, because we want to make sure that we had a system that was being put into place that's going to be permanent. It's the first time the county's really done this before, looking for a permanent solution for public safety logistics. Obviously, you know, public safety is the first thing that government provides its people. So with all the scoring being done, the yellowed out one is the one that is going to be recommended. I'll tell you what it includes in just a second. But ECS out of Bloomington, the other one that submitted was JES, and the other one was J&K. And you can see the final scores there. ECS was 373 points, J&K was 334 points, and JES was 282 points. If you turn back to the front page, based on those scores and interviews, I should say that they had interviews that took about 3/4 of a day to do with all the vendors. So we relied on what they presented as well as the interviews for their solutions. The system, like I said, is being presented is we're recommending ECS, the committee is. The system will be a simulcast system. It will be a 3-site system. It will be 1 channel, okay? It will be the first time that you have a system that actually saturates the entire county, okay? Because the state system does not, we all know that, and then the other systems don't either. So this is the first time that it will be done, and it will be simulcast, which you don't even have a simulcast system. It will be a digital system. In this case, we have a very unique situation. It will be a Kenwood Atlas repeater. Why is that important? Because that Kenwood Atlas repeater is future-proofed, okay? And we had a unique situation because we had 2 companies presenting the same thing, okay? They had a different way of looking at it, but the Kenwood Atlas unit, which came out, I believe, in 2011 or 2013, because I was part of the initial installations of the first ones, it's a network-based system. Well, why is that important? Because you can actually add on to it in the future. You can add another channel. You can add 2 or 3 channels. You can put a 700 megahertz channel in and then cross band between the 2, which is true interoperability. So this is about as future-proof as you can get. We did not ask for this, but it actually was presented that way, so that was very good. So it is a 3-site solution. There will be a new site at Patricksburg, and we are using 2 rent-free sites. We are very fortunate to use RMC up on Ponderosa Road and to use the one over here, what's that, Hoosier?
Hoosier Energy.
Yeah, Hoosier Energy. And we
So when
got
I give, I'll just, so when I give you those contacts, there was no issue, no problem,
there
everything
wasn't.
went fine?
And the one from Hoosier Energy, it was hard getting him off the phone. It went on and on and on. And we needed a certain heights on both towers, and they were very obliging, so I compliment them on that. They're helping out the taxpayers here. And then obviously it'll be a digital system, which works good for interoperability. The system cost, we have the Atlas system itself, which would be $371,874. Then there's going to be, you're going to be hard bidding out your towers, because everybody should be able to bid on those. Concrete people bid on it, electricians bid on it, all that. That'll be hard bid pending this whole project being funded, okay? There will be build out that will be in the Patricksburg Fire Station. There will be a small room put in there for this equipment. You have to understand, this type of equipment is like putting computers in, okay? Because when it becomes digital and becomes interoperable, they are very sensitive to a lot of things. Environments are one of them. You know, you can't operate in a 100-degree environment anymore.
Chris, if I'm not mistaken, and I've said on 2 or 3 of these meetings, of course, this part's your guys', that was going to be attached to the back side of the fire station, is that correct, or is it?
Well,
Inside, I believe.
yeah,
Okay.
it's gonna be built inside in the corner there, and then allocations are made to be able to put a small jet set in there, and then the new steel tower, which would be on the, I think my directions are south side, okay? And that's where it would go up. The small tower that's there right now cannot propagate out far enough, and we'll actually reuse the pad for a small gen set, okay? So, the RMC site does need some upgrading. The Hoosier Energy is fantastic. Well, the person I was talking to, I can see why. It meets all the requirements for NFPA, and there's R56, and all these requirements for communication purposes, okay? The RMC site, we are going to have some grounding things, so I allocated money to be able to put additional grounding issues in. Because grounding is your biggest thing. When you got a tower so tall, that's a lightning rod, okay? And you got to neutralize that, okay? Oversight, so that I actually continue on through the project, through the oversight. And then subscribers, we put an allocation on that. You are going to a P25 system, which allows, if somebody has a Kenwood radio, it can go on it. If they have a Harris radio, if they have a Motorola radio, if they have a Tate radio, any radio can go on it as long as you give them permission. It's not vendor autistic. I mean, it doesn't go only that way, okay? It can go across all vendors. Well, we're gonna need some new subscribers, okay? And I have the fortunate, I'm doing another project where I think we can work out a deal, because they're gonna discontinue some subscribers, and we may be able to work out a deal with that to get the cost down, okay? So, and then I always put in a fudge contingency, because we don't know if we're gonna hit things through the project, okay? So I always put that kind of thing in. Now, the number one already has a $10,000 contingency, which would be ECS's agreement. But by the time you get everything done, you're about $800,000. And then the reason I say that, I mean, it seems like a lot, but this is the final solution. You've never had a final solution before. It's always been patched. And this is a digital system, because right now your current system is analog and it's interoperable. 2 additional things which would be nice to put onto it, and that is to put an additional VHF channel. So that way, when we have a tornadic event, we have a major structure fire, things like that, we can actually have 2 channels we can communicate on throughout the entire county, saturated. Because your VHF channels, you already own them. The county owns those already. And the thing is, how many do we want to put on there? So I'd recommend an additional channel to put on. I would also recommend a 700 megahertz channel. Why? Because the thing is, you will be saturating the county more than what the state of Indiana is, okay? So why not use your assets that have already been in place, and the Atlas system already provides that future-proofness to translate between a VHF signal and a 700. Well, the state's on 800. 7 and 800 are the same thing, just so everybody knows, okay? And you've already been pre-allocated through the FCC, I think 7 channels. I can't remember. You got go on caprad.org and you can find them, okay? Because that's where they're located, okay? That's the repository. So I recommend, if you can do it, I know you're the executive body, not the funding body, to do those 2 additional options, because that's done permanent then, okay? And that's an additional $359,000.
Can that be done after the fact?
Yes, it can.
Okay.
Yes, it can. That's a very good point, okay? That's the whole point of putting in the atlas. You can add to it later on, okay? And in this case, you would still be using the 700, you put up additional tower climbs because you do have additional antennas, but the VHF, you're using the same antenna, okay? Time schedule for the project would be the RF equipment pending your approval and fiscal body approval would be between January and May. I say that because I have an Atlas system going on in another county up north, and they have delays on the Atlas 4500 and 8000 system, okay? And that's the guts of the system. So I'm giving you a worst condition. It may come in by May or April, by March or April, but I'm gonna give you worse. Tower bidding, pending approval, you will go ahead and bid out your towers so you can get local concrete people, local electricians for sure should be going after this, okay? And then some small carpentry work. And then the tower installation would most likely be in April, could be earlier than that, because these are, a 180-foot tower is a short-term acquisition, so you know. They build those all over the place. RF installation would be about a month, and then the testing will take about a month. So you're looking at a system that would be operable by next summer, okay? You could be operable before that, but I don't believe the testing. I've had testing go on for 30 days or more because there's 2 tests that are done. There's a thing called a bit error rate test, and there's what's called a delivered audio quality test that we require, okay? And so to do all of those around your curvy roads takes a while to get done. And then they have to readjust systems. You know, one tower may put out a certain amount of energy, maybe it needs to put out less. These adjustments are made through this before we accept the project, okay? So, I know you already asked questions, Gary, during it, but.
Yeah, and now I'm gonna ask some more.
Yes.
I want to hear from the 3 gentlemen sitting back here in the middle of the room. That's Chris, Lee, and Mr. Walker. If you would give me some, and I said it on some of these meetings with you, as you know, wished I could have been to more of them. Tell me your thoughts, and I don't care who goes first.
I'll just say, we spent, like you said, a lot of hours in this, and all the different vendors put in. The atlas that he's proposing, I feel, my personal feelings, I feel, is future-proof. We can add to it, we can move forward to what you're not gonna put a whole new system in. And that's my recommendation. And that's why we've talked about, like I said, we went through, I beat this up all over the place. And that's why. I would keep going back to the future-proof, you know, because
And that's what we're looking for.
we put systems in and then they don't work, and then you put a whole new system in and it works okay, and we're trying to build off of something. So,
Yeah, that's the big deal. We don't want a system, there's one system that was proposed that if we ever do anything in the future, we have to take what we just purchased pretty much and toss to the side and buy all new again. Where this system.
We're not that county, yeah.
Where this system here, you know, if we decide, like Terry was saying, if we decide to add another channel or another couple channels, it's just plugging into the back of basically the computer. You're plugging things into it.
just add to.
You're not having to throw away and buy something that you can plug into.
Yeah, and I'm happy to hear that, for sure. And again,
It's been really tough and hard sitting here trying to wrap your head around everything, for me anyway, but.
Terry talks way over my head, so I try to comprehend as much as I can.
Mine too, but yeah, it's going to give us the opportunity in the future to build out, instead of saying, okay, this system's done now, let's throw it all away and start over. We don't want to do that.
Yeah, and to add on that, sorry.
That's all right, if he's got anything to add.
The P25 system is any rails, like you were saying.
Right, and that I was a part of it, I understand that.
I know we've been around the table and stuff, we don't want to be held to Kenwood, or we don't want to be held to Motorola. I know you was in one of those meetings when we were discussing that.
Yeah.
That's why P25 is huge on that, because you got to put that Atlas system in and get that.
And that's good, because we have different fire stations, whatever, that we all have different radios, so.
It's all in their own.
Exactly, so that's important.
I've been in it for 52 years. I know we've gone from the phone system where you call the next person, everybody has a line to go. We've been working on it, we've been trying to improve this over the years, and finally we just come down to it and say, this is what we need to do. We need to have a base. We need to have a foundation to work from, and then we can add on from there. Because you don't want to have problems with your radio system if somebody's life is in jeopardy.
Yeah, I agree.
And if you guys didn't understand the part about simulcast, right now our system is set up to where, well, there's 4 towers in the county right now. One of them's kind of, it's not
cracked, it is crap.
it's not a great tower, but it is a tower. So
That's
what
Freedom
happens
Tower,
is-
I'm assuming, yeah.
And I'll just use our fire department as a representation. We've got a tower out of our fire department. So if they dispatch Patricksburg right now, they'll talk off of Patricksburg Tower. But let's say it's a medical run that's for EMS and Patricksburg. The reception when they're talking off of Patricksburg Tower is horrible at our station even here in Patricksburg. And it's the same way.
Right under the tower.
You're not,
Yeah.
yeah, if you're not at that tower site, anywhere else in the county, you can't hear very well. And that's a problem. Being simulcast, they time all those towers together through a clock system, I guess, and all of them broadcast the same message at the same time, so no matter where you're at in the county, you can hear it. So there's been times, and Dale can account for it, I may be, let's say, on my way back from Lowe's, and I'm coming back through Ellisville or something, and Patricksburg get dispatched. I had no idea that Patricksburg got dispatched because it was broadcast from the Patricksburg Tower that doesn't reach all the way to Ellisville.
Right.
If we broadcast it off the 3 remaining towers that we'll have, we'll be able to hear it. No matter where we're at in the county, we'll be able to hear it, and we'll be able to talk back.
I remember seeing some of those diagrams of the coverage that it was going to have with the 3 towers, so.
Okay, no, you're fine now.
Guys, I appreciate all of your input. It's very important. I'm glad that you're all here, all part of that committee. Bob, do you have any questions?
Well, they said here that, they can add on afterwards. How long with this system? Do you know how long it'll last, or?
When the system's put together and we design it, that's a good question, because a lot of commissioners ask those
Yeah,
questions.
but
around
I mean,
state.
how long are we butts going?
The system itself, we always plan on 50 years. The equipment will have to be upgraded or replaced anywhere from 10 to 15-year periods.
So we're
There's no way
looking
around
for
that.
equipment for about 10 years.
Yeah, because it's just like a computer system. The software gets updated every year, but the hardware itself does wear out.
And
so
when this goes in, I didn't say that, this goes for the EMS, fire department, probation department, and all
Everybody
of them.
uses VHF, yes.
Yeah, whoever got a radio, like Gary's carrying a radio, so it gets in.
Highway.
Yep, highway.
Yeah, that's true.
The
It's all-
highway won't be included in this.
And like Chris, where he's EMS and also fire department, he only needs one radio then. That'll cover everything for you, Chris, or what?
I'm sorry, I was getting dispatched, I was reading that, I'm sorry.
Okay, like you got one radio, and before you had to have one for the EMS and one for the fire department, right?
Yeah, I've got one for the EMS and one for fire, they're on the same.
That's what I'm saying,
It's the
when this new system comes in, can those be combined? You can hear everything at once. Sherry,
Yeah,
can
you
you
can do
answer
that now.
that?
So
He can do it
it's-
now.
It's the same frequency right now, so there's only 2 that the county uses. It's the fire and EMS frequency, and that's the one we're talking about today, and then it's the law enforcement frequency over here. So,
And I know the highway's got its own tower. I didn't mean to include them in that. I understand that. But we were talking about some way that they could get a radio for fire so they could listen because of storms and things like that. They need that connection.
And that's where Terry was talking about the 700 series, if Terry wants to
Okay.
touch on that branches everybody together.
Yeah.
I just remember that conversation's why I'm bringing it up.
Digital, whatever, everybody.
Let's not go to that other 359,000
Yeah, I'm just
today.
saying, that's where that comes in.
I appreciate that, Lee, because I remember that conversation.
That's where that would come in. It's
Okay.
The next upgrade.
So we all know, we're kind of on the same page, there has been allotted through ARPA 348,000 and some change towards this project. Unless Sheila's going to tell me something different today, but that's the numbers that we have steadfast with for the last 6 months. In the last meeting, and Sheila wasn't here, I've reached out to Chris, I reached out to Greg. There was some additional savings in ARPA. We come up with about $47,000 total funds. I recommended, and it was approved in the last commissioner meeting, that go towards the radios. Now, I'm going to ask you, gentlemen and ladies today, do we want to put that towards this project here or keep it separate for those radios to help out? Because at some point, we're going to have to replace some radios, right?
I know I can speak for EMS, for us to work on this system, the radios that I currently have in my fleet aren't capable.
Okay.
So I'm still gonna have to buy radios somewhere.
That's all I need to know.
To tell you the truth, I get $2,500 a year for radio maintenance, so that'll buy me 2 radios.
Yeah.
And I-
So we need that 47,000 that we've already approved through ARPA funds to go towards radios themselves, whether it be portable, mobile, whatever.
Right. That's the reason, Gary, item 6, I made sure we included that in there.
When he says subscribers, that means.
That's your radio, subscribers are your radios.
Okay.
That'd be your mobile radio in the apparatus,
150,000.
or in the boxes, and that's our portable radios. And the reason I put possible interlocal is because if you go this route, I will be working with that other county that is gonna discontinue their radios,
So,
probably by February.
let me understand this again. We've got $150,000 in this estimate here
Yes.
that would cover radios.
Yes, yes.
So I could take this 47,000 and put towards this as a whole project. Is that making sense to you?
Yes.
Chris, no?
No, because we talked, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sherry and Terry, we pulled the EMS radios out of that 150,000 because we knew that 50,000 was sitting there. And if you want to put that 50,000 towards the project, the council will just have to find somewhere to buy EMS and radio.
Right, and that's what I'm concerned about. So I feel comfortable with it being there for radios.
Okay.
Trust me, I'd like to put all the money to this project that we possibly can, but this system's not gonna do us a darn bit of good if we don't have radios to go with it.
No, that's
Yeah,
right.
I'd say if you want to put it towards it, make sure EMS gets covered first.
And
That's fine.
we could possibly do something like that. Yeah, out of that 150, and if we bump that up, the other 47,000 to basically make that 197 in that subscribers line
Right.
with a amendment that EMS gets radios first and foremost.
Right.
I don't have a problem with that. We can make that part of the agreement today. Does that sound okay to you 3 gentlemen back there and Sherry? And I don't mean to be not including you here. I know you're sitting right there.
I have a couple of budget options.
Yep.
If they have anything left in their budgets, if you guys are gonna go ahead and do the contract and that for the ARPA part of it, you can encumber anything that they have sitting there to go toward those radios as well, which would help reduce the overall amount that's needed. And that's true whether it's EMS, highway, any of Sherry's funds that would just help reduce that cost or not have to add the other 50,000 back. Just
And I agree with that. That is a good idea if they've got fund lines that's got money in it that they want to encumber to put towards this project.
That's one of the,
Sheila, we would, if we had money, like I'm gonna have some money in different line items, but moving that into the radio to encumber it. Some of those are coming from like a 30,000 series into 20,000 series. And I know that cutoff was Wednesday.
And
I
it's
didn't-
just transfers. We can present transfers to the council Monday night if we have a ballpark figure that's there. You could if you have 10,000 now, and by the time December 31st rolls around, you only have 8, I can only transfer what that current line item is in case something else comes up between now and then, but
What we're,
transfers can be added at the council meeting.
and I think what Sheila's trying to help here with, and I appreciate it, and what I'm trying to do is get as much off the county's back as we can. So when this thing's presented Monday night, we've put together all of our eggs in one basket as far as ARPA funds, any funds lines that you have available that you can encumber and dump into your radio project, tower project, whatever. So if we do the 48, we do the 47, that's putting us at about 400, I'm going to say, roughly, short $1 or $2. And then whatever you can put in, then that gives us a good number to say, okay, council, here's what we're going to need to finish this project.
We did, I brought up something in the meeting, if I can work with you, Sheila, I do have 1222 funds from the state 911 in my cash balance. I can use some of that. Now, I need to work with somebody to determine exactly what that number looks like,
It would have,
because it's,
that would be an additional appropriation, because it's just in your cash balance, but you can do an additional appropriation in January to go
Right.
toward that. So whatever you would have available, you
Yeah.
just wouldn't be able to do it before December 31st, because
Let's stick with
Yeah.
transfers right now with a good number, and then you could always state the fact that there is more available come January, to something to that effect. But that way, when you're going to the council, we're gonna go back and say, okay, we're gonna need 390,000, I don't know what the number is, but whatever it is when we get this thing pounded out. So it sounds like to me, between Monday morning and Monday evening, we need to come up with some kind of numbers from you folks that can be transferred towards this project. And with Bob sitting here, we can make an amendment on our proposal to the radio money to put it to the tower money and put it into the subscribers line. Is that a fair statement, Chris?
Yeah, I just need to get with Sheila and we need to work on, you remember whenever we started this year, we were talking about with the tax levy that was given to the EMS being real low, we were worried about making it to the end of the year in the black. I think we've saved enough money, but I just need to make sure that with what's coming in December, because anything we spend out of my budget is coming out of that cash balance.
Right.
Whatever we bring in December, plus my cash balance has got to run me till May of next year. So what?
And we still don't have a budget
Crunch some numbers.
approved.
we don't have a budget approved, and it could roll into January depending on DLGF and that.
So
But
I just
settlement is
wanna-
in your funds, so all the settlement has been put in your funds, so whatever your current cash balance
Well,
is.
yeah, let's work on those numbers and not projecting what, I know yours is going to be increased, or we're hoping it is in this coming budget. Is there any other questions?
I got several, but it's a lot to ask.
Okay, we're going to give you 3 minutes, Alan.
Terry, most of my stuff will be directed to you, actually. The biggest concern I have is the last director wasted tons of money on the program. That's why we have the problem that we have now with the problem that Chris was describing. Is this, you and I talked about this before, is this going to allow the other fire departments and whatnot, are they all going to be able to be on this? You've done a saturation test, correct? So Coal City's going to get better coverage than what they have now, Poland, Station 16, all those are going to get better coverage, is that right?
Yeah,
And we're still going to be under one channel and one channel only.
yeah.
So this summer, when we have multiple brush fires at all times and everything else like we've always had, we're going to still be using one channel and one channel only unless we go up to this $359,000 program, right? To handle all these simultaneous fires all at one time and everything. Is that correct, Terry?
Well, there's two things on that, Alan, because that's a good question. You don't have to do the 359, you can just add one VHF channel, since I know fire, you guys just do VHF. Okay, so just do the
So if this
176,000.
doesn't dig into my time for just a minute, please.
Yeah.
You're good.
I'd like to have an
Oh, and then-
example. I'd like to have an example.
You
of
got 2 minutes.
Four brush fires at one time this
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah.
And Lee's got one tied up on the main channel, what happens to Dale and Chris and everything?
Now, this,
What happens to
because
that?
these are the simulcast ones that saturate the whole county.
Okay,
The other thing they'll have is firehouses will still have their local channel. that they can use if they want to.
So they,
That's never
like
taken
Lee's got a
away.
private channel, they could go to that. open
Yeah,
the
that's
channel back
exactly
up.
right.
And some of them could actually move to mutual aid or whatever the case may be. That
That's,
does too.
yes,
So that's gonna be basically a department-wide thing, hey, we're still gonna have.
That's
we're
their
gonna have-
deal,
We're gonna have
yeah.
one channel, so we're gonna have to work this out accordingly.
yeah.
Okay, so that takes care of that. So the other additional question I have is, you're talking about $400,000. The council doesn't have that money, I'll tell you in advance already, they don't have it. So if you set a contract today, if you move forward here with this ARPA money, and they take money tonight, they can't pay for it, what happens?
Well, there's several, I'm not gonna step on the auditor and the executive body here, but my projects, knock on wood, have all gone through, and they've looked at things like, okay, can we do a loan? You're allowed to go 7 years on a loan without going through a bond process. And then they look at utilizing 911 funds or other funds that are available to pay that loan off. And that way, because you and I talked on, the solution needs to be the permanent solution.
Right, absolutely.
Period. And I was really surprised on the Atlas system being presented, but that's the options that I would present to the county.
So
Don't look
not
at it as
just,
one-time cash.
not
look at-
just come up with one time.
No,
They,
no.
they don't have it. I'll tell you
Yeah,
right
no,
now.
I would do it as a loan, and
Nine.
it used to be, no, sorry, it used to be 7 years, you could do a negotiated loan with a local bank. Outside of that, you have to go through the bond process, okay?
What's an economic lid?
And then the last
What's
question
an
I have on
economic
my
lid?
references, subscriber
Lid at
thing.
About
You're
1.3,
talking
$4 million.
$150,000. Give me the layman's
So
terms of
they
that.
do
So
have money.
Chris would come to you from Patricksburg and say, hey, I need radios, blah, blah, blah. and Lee
Well,
wouldn't, but I'm just
I study
gonna
those
give you
numbers like I
examples and see
sleep
where
at
you're
night, so.
Yeah. Some of those, Alan, I included, there's a lot of radios that
And I'm
are
gonna
out there
bring that
right now that can be upgraded, but you have to upgrade the software.
going. Right.
And versus spending, let's say, $1,000 to $1,700 on a radio, spend $300 and upgrade the software. Okay?
So it's something that it's something I say, the taxpayers are gonna pay for all the departments to get up to speed.
To get, yeah, to get
So is
that.
there going to be something written into that or whatever going forward though, that, as I spoke of at the last meeting, when they break a radio or run over one or whatever the case may be, the county taxpayers cannot continue to pay for radios. for
This is a one-time thing.
Yeah,
And that would be well documented, correct?
yeah, that's, yeah, good point.
So, thank you for the questions. I'm going to correct you a little bit. Council does have money. There's about 1.4 million in lead edit. The new,
I guess that's a disagreement between you and them.
it's a black and white, it's on the fund lines, yeah.
They say they don't, but that's.
It's whether they want to or they don't want to, you know. It's just like today, do I want to vote on this or do I not want to vote on it?
Sure.
I think it's a necessity. It's the safety of our citizens of our county, and that's what we're here for. There's also another $1 million based into the new budget, 500 in commissioners, 500 in council. There will be funds. It depends on who wants to spend them and how they want to spend them. I've lost track of all the things that I wanted to add in this motion because of the conversations. But I would like to make a motion. Go ahead, I'm sorry, Dana. Let's get the attorney involved.
I just wanted to see what parts were actually gonna be bid out. Just the tower or also the build out?
All those, I line item, but item 2, the tower, item 3, the build out, item 3, or item 4, the upgrade. Those are all hard bid, because it's not apples to oranges there. I mean, I stamp a set of drawings, and this is what you have to do electrical, this is how you do grounding, this is how you do the concrete. So that's the reason the only local bidding, you should get local people bidding on that. The only thing that won't be local is the tower steel. That most likely will come from, because there's nobody right here that builds tower steel. Okay. But it will be all together. That makes
I
sense?
don't want up there.
Do what?
I don't want up there.
And everything else is sole source based on what's needed for the system.
What's that?
Everything else would be sole source based on what's needed for the system.
Sole sourced in that, I guess I'm confused a little on that. Like the Atlas is under ESC agreement, okay? So once you put up the assets, which are the tower, and we'll already have, and that brings up, the other thing is, on the 2 free locations, right now you have agreements, but I would turn them in, and I'll do one that I've done before, and give to you. I would turn them into more long-term agreements. because of the expenditures that you're having to put in the system, okay?
Sounds good.
Anyone else? Again, I'm going to try to slop together a motion with everything that's been discussed. I'm going to make a motion and recommend that we move forward with what has been presented today for the radio tower project based on the $348,000 roughly from ARPA funds. We move the $47,000 roughly from the radio project to this project in a subscribers line, with the county EMS getting radios first and foremost for all their equipment. And this is solely based on the council funding the remainder. So there is no agreement at this time until the council agrees to additional funding.
Subject to council's approval.
Yep. Does that make sense to everyone? I think I covered everything. If I left something out, let me know. So that's my motion. Do I hear a second? Got a second by Bob. All in favor? Aye. And folks, this is extremely important. I've been on these radios before, and it's horrible. I don't know how you guys deal with them every day. I swear I don't. So I'd like to see this happen for you guys as well as everyone in the community, so.
Will you be at the council meeting?
I have to check my schedule. I think I got a granddaughter and a Christmas program,
Oh,
so
I didn't
I'm not
know.
going to miss
Sorry.
that. No. So we'll see Monday night. Thank you, guys. Appreciate all your time and effort. I know it's been a lot involved, so thank you all.
Thank you.